Today we are here with Alex and Pete, directors of Bradfield Badgerfox, one of the longest standing and largest agencies here in Double Bay.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Scott.
The reason I wanted to get you guys involved in what we're doing here at Akiri is you both specialize in a very specific part of the market, being that trophy home space, that high net wealth client. So tell me a little bit about what you do and I guess a bit about what makes a trophy home a trophy home.
Thanks for having us. I guess trophy homes are depicted as what a trophy is: rare, hard to come by. So when you think about what the 10 largest sales will be of the year, they should be the trophy homes. I think if we categorize it a little bit further, we could agree 30 million plus, good attributes, large land, nice views, but something that isn't run of the mill. There's not several of them on a street. It's really a standout. That's a trophy home.
So I think the price kind of comes in secondary because, like Alex said, it's the rarity, but that's why they get that price.
Yeah. Okay. So could it also be something that's not cookie cutter? Maybe not necessarily a $30+ million property, but something that, like you said, is unique for that area. Would that be classed as a trophy home offering?
I think it's more a nice home. Trophy home, like we're talking the one that recently traded, Boomerang, $80 million. That's a trophy home. Properties in Point Piper, they're getting that sort of 60, 70 million. But then if you cut it back a little bit more, there are those properties that have nice attributes that probably get a little bit less money, but they're extremely special in, nice suburbs, and they're considered trophy homes.
Yeah, fantastic. And how are you finding that trophy home space at the moment in today's market?
Very strong. So basically, the fun game with the trophy home market is that we speak to a lot of owners and we approach a lot of owners about their properties, but most of these people don't have to sell their properties. And they'll always say, what are we going to replace it with? Which is a very, very hard thing to do when you've lived in this house for a long time, and they are hard to replace. So what has been happening is people have been naming their price, and there's very good buyers out there that pay that price. So that trophy home market has been very strong. And because of the rarity of it, I think will continue to be very strong.
Okay, so leading into my next question around consumer confidence, is it when you're sort of working that end of town, would you say that the buyer pool is a lot smaller, therefore highly competitive?
So because there is such a finite amount of these trophy homes, there's still a very good amount of buyers for them at the moment. And I think that's going to continue on for a while. Australia's a very safe place to put your money. We're getting a lot of international attention. We're getting a lot of people moving here, a lot of their families moving here to educate their kids. And so I don't see it slowing down anytime soon.
But this is why we love it. When we're talking about buyers, they don't buy. It's not like, oh, I've decided I'm going to buy a house now. These people sometimes look 3, 4, 5 years for the right place. They're a very particular type of client, which means they're not, the market doesn't matter. Interest rates don't care. The fact that auctions are probably a little bit down or up doesn't influence them. They're buying a house. Like for them, because in that trophy home space, they know what they want. And when it comes up, the relationships that we have with these people, that's why, when you work hard and you get to be able to be in this space and you keep it consistent, our relationships with these buyers and the trust that we get to build with the vendors and the buyers alike helps us that when that property comes up, it allows us to match make and then obviously keep it under wraps like we like to do most of the time, because that being very discreet is the next part of that process and keeping things as private as possible.
So if I'm looking for a waterfront in Point Piper, I shouldn't really be looking on Domain.
It should be, but it might not necessarily come on Domain.
What are your crystal ball predictions for what's going to happen in the trophy home space over the next 6 to 12 months, given it is quite strong currently? If the market does scale back like we saw last year, do you depict that that's going to have an effect on that?
I think it's going to continue to stay strong. I think the lower end of the market is different. When we're talking about the trophy home market, like Alex said, they're not relying on interest rates. They're not relying on huge world factors. Unfortunately, the gap between the Gen Pop and these people buying these trophy homes is getting greater. And there is a lot of wealth out there. And the main thing comes back to a lot of these people don't have to sell their houses. They'll name the price and people will pay it.
Yeah. Now, a question that we always get asked as buyers agents is, where does all this money come from? Is it generational wealth? Are you seeing a lot of international clients? Is it, do we just have the highest amount of billionaires per capita? What is it?
That's the most fun. It's a complete, it's a complete mix. Sometimes it's generational wealth. There's a lot of money out there in tech. The amount of money coming in from overseas and expats coming in. We meet a wide range of people. But one thing that we can confirm is there's a lot of money out there.
So we sold something at auction end of last year. The neighboring property, very, very similar, sold a little, a few weeks before that for around $15 million. We sold this property at auction for $24 million. The 4 people bidding on it were Chinese locals, and that sold for $24 million. So a $9 million difference there. Then we sold another property during COVID, sight unseen, expat for $30 million. So you never know where they're going to come from, but those people are out there.
What's your matchmaking process look like?
Very strong buyer work. So we've got close relationships with buyers built on trust. We don't, we obviously work with buyers agents as well, but outside of buyers agents, because people know that we trade in this market, we don't just send them anything. So we're quite specific around their requirements, what they want, what it is they're after. We don't even the wealthiest people in the country have a budget. So, you don't offend by sending them something 5 mil over budget, because that's a lot of money. So we keep it very, very qualified, which means that when we do come across, they know we're not going to be calling them every day. But if Peter's number or my number comes up on their screen, they pick it up because they know we've probably got something that's good for them. And when that opportunity comes up, it's very qualified, which is great.
For buyers that are looking for that real special home, where are you sort of seeing the most activity in terms of location?
We do a lot of work in Vaucluse, but that being said, we're not pocketed to Vaucluse, but that's just where we've had a lot of success over the past few years. Vaucluse has been very, very popular because it has a large variety of properties. You'll get ones on the water. You'll get ones with really good views, ones with really big land size. So you get a nice variety. Then you move down the road to Bellevue Hill, a little bit closer into the city. You get the big houses on Kambala Road, nice flat land, 1,000 square meters plus, and then moving into Point Piper. So Point Piper is kind of in a league of its own. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah, and big brand name.
Yeah, and then you've got Bellevue Hill, which is always been very popular, close to the private schools, closer to the city than Vaucluse, but they all offer something different. So to answer the question, I think Bellevue Hill is extremely strong.
Vaucluse has spiked massively. I mean, even before COVID, there used to be, back in our younger years, I don't like to say that, but we are getting it. But there used to be this stigma around going up the hill and Vaucluse being too far away and Bellevue Hill being closer to the city. That proximity meant people aspired to be there a bit more before Vaucluse. I think that working from home and as there's been more flexibility and people have understood that, hey, look, 15 minutes up the road isn't really that much to get, some views, to be a bit more in suburbia. Vaucluse has started to shine that little bit brighter, and in many aspects has overtaken Bellevue Hill. But Bellevue Hill's had a really strong run in the last 12 months. So it's almost like they're having this tit for tat. They're always at war with each other. But that's that's the best thing about it. It's always coming back. Pete and I have a good love affair with Vaucluse.
Yeah, but you're right. It's kind of like Verstappen and Hamilton a few years ago.
If I was, for example, looking in Bellevue Hill, would you show me things in Vaucluse? Do you find that they cross-pollinate in terms of the type?
That's the thing. Rarely. We would recommend you look at things, but someone that wants to buy in Bellevue Hill doesn't necessarily all the time want to go to Vaucluse, and vice versa. So yeah, we will always try and hold their hand because generally our stock's in Vaucluse. So,
but also provide them the option. We'll say, Courtney, there's this house up in Vaucluse. I think you'd quite like it. I know that you want to be in Bellevue Hill, but have you thought of this? We'll give you the option, just like you would with your clients as well.
100%. What is one of the biggest ticket items that people will pay a premium for?
Views.
Views.
Yeah.
So that on the other side, let's say you're looking to sell your trophy home, that would be the first thing people go for.
Correct. Views are a big thing.
Land size, secondary to that.
Correct. Car parking. A lot of these high net worth individuals need a place to put their cars. Some of these people have got warehouses, for their cars. So the more cars that they can keep on site, the better. That's important to them.
Cars is a new thing as well. It's probably been the last, I want to say 10 years, but that's probably even too long. That's probably the last 6-7 years where, a lot of these wealthy clients, they've got, whether it doesn't necessarily mean modern expensive cars, but classic cars. There's a larger appreciation for that. So two garage spaces doesn't cut it in these homes anymore. They're looking for basement parking or nice big places to store their toys.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And now, is there anything you want to add in terms of advice you can give to prospective, let's call it buyers and sellers in that space? So in terms, like it could be, that if I'm looking to buy a trophy home, that patience might be one of them, that it doesn't just happen overnight, that it can take a little bit longer to unearth. Or in your experience, what advice would you give to someone looking to buy a trophy home?
Great question. I think, you're right. Be patient because you're targeting, because you are targeting the trophy homes, you're generally dealing, and us as agents are dealing with people that don't necessarily need to sell their home, but they're generally commercial people as well. If they're getting a good offer with good terms and we're speaking to them, they will most likely sell it. So be patient, and there might be a bit of hand holding along the way as well. And but see as much as you can as well. And that's where you'll come into play with it. Give people options. But then when you see the right one, go for it. Because what you pay for it today is going to be completely forgotten in the years to come.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good piece of advice because in that trophy home space, like you said, 9 times out of 10, they're not actively looking to sell and it's about the opportunity. And there is an opportunity cost associated with a trophy home property.
Correct. We sold something to a really good client of ours for just over $30 million 4 years ago. He has held on to that property, not done anything to it, and he's getting offers close to $50 million for it now. So at the time, people were saying, great sale price, but this person overpaid a lot of money for it. And it just comes back to it. These trophy homes will always appreciate over time. History has shown that, and it's going to continue to happen.
In the market, hesitation is expensive in the
Correct.
home market. Like it always seems like big money until someone pays for it. Then you can guarantee 2 weeks later, there's always someone saying, look, would he retrade it? I'll cover the stamp duty. Because as soon as someone sets that benchmark in these kind of properties, the benchmark's set and there's only going up from there because everyone understands. I mean, there's been time in history, we all hear about it, where it has gone back. But, when it comes to times going okay and families that don't have to sell property, generally in this market, they're buying it for long-term investment. So there's always going to be someone to approach saying, I want to buy it. Can I pay more? And so that hesitation is the same principle. If you want to wait that little bit extra or see if someone else is interested, you can guarantee someone will be. That just means you're going to have to go toe to toe with them once they throw their hand up, and that's an expensive exercise.
So outside of the trophy home space, what are you sort of foreseeing in the market at the moment? Where do you think the market's heading?
What we found recently is the properties on the higher end of the market, so call it 15, 20 plus, have been performing very, very well. Below that, it's still performing well. For us to be able to sell things generally within 25, 30 days on a normal auction campaign, you'd have to say that that's a good market. For you to sell a $1, $2, $3, $4, $10 million house within that time, for that asset to be that liquid, we're in a good market. That being said, I feel like the lower you go down on that price range, so if you're getting into your 1-bedders and 2-bedder apartments, call it 1 to 2 mil, there's a lot of hand holding. It is a bit harder to get money as well. So I think that's what's making that a little bit harder. But yeah, the lower end of the market is a bit harder for sure.
Right, right. And any other words of wisdom you want to give anyone listening and tuning in to us on if they're coming into the market or potentially looking to trade their asset, what piece of advice would you give to them today?
Be prepared. Speak to who you need to speak to. If you're selling something, have certainty. If you are buying before you sell, have certainty around what it is. Like chat to your broker. If you are engaging a buyer's agent, be really well across what your situation is. Because when the right thing comes up, you want to be ready to execute. And if you don't have all the information at hand, you won't have that confidence to press forward. So having all the answers, not just acting emotionally and being like, oh, I wouldn't mind some more space. Then you head out and you look at a home, doesn't really suit, you go back to your usual home, and then the next one comes up. You can't really have one foot in, one foot out. Just that sort of reluctance to press forward without all the answers is not a really comforting ground to be in. So we always recommend have your ducks in a line. If you need to chat to your accountant, do it. If you need to chat to a broker, do it. If you are interested in buyers agents, chat to them. Get your real estate agent in and have a chat and have the information at hand. And then with all the information, press forward so you can, when you see the right thing, which sometimes comes up far quicker, you go through on a Saturday, you think you're not going to like it, you walk through, you love it, and then you're actually ready to rock and roll and make a play at it.
And I think as well, just on the buying side, it doesn't matter how big or small your budget is, you're going to have to make a compromise somewhere. And, I think like for us in any market, and probably especially this market, you are going to have to compromise and you just got to work out what your non-negotiables are, right?
Eyes are always bigger than your belly.
Yeah. No, but absolutely. Like I've heard of people, like you hit the nail on the head, Corny, because I've heard people, they've built their house, they've built their dream house, and it is a beautiful house, but there's things they would have done differently. So that's going to be the same whether you're building, buying an existing product. Um, it won't be perfect, but you can get close to.
In terms of like getting access to these homes, in these trophy homes, what do you do? How do you get introduced to these potential vendors?
So after having quite a few runs on the board, we know a lot of these people. We've met them at open homes. They'll contact us after we've sold certain properties and just, have a yarn with them about that. So then when we're working with a good buyer, when you call us up with a buyer brief, we can pick up the phone and a lot of the time we've got these people's details. If we do not have an existing relationship with them, Alex and I love going out and knocking on people's doors. If there are certain houses to target, we'll go out and knock on the door. I think a lot of people are maybe a bit afraid to do it. We love it. It is getting in front of a person, having a chat with them with a genuine buy and a genuine reason to be there.
Do they often let you in?
You'd be surprised. All you need is a suit and a business card, and you get to walk through these houses. It's a lot of fun. But like we had really good success. One of our underbidders on a property in Vaucluse, which we sold for 30 mil, they wanted to be a little bit closer into the city. So they were looking in Bellevue Hill and Point Piper. We door knocked a house in Point Piper. It was a waterfront, boat access. 2 weeks after that, we ended up selling it to this person.
It gets easier when you have the runs on the board, right? Because then
Correct.
they know who we are. When they don't know who you are, it's tougher. Right? It's like, well, you're just another real estate agent. But the only way you're going to get to the other side of that is by getting told no a few times. A lot of people are intimidated by these people. We're with someone yesterday and he's worth so much money. Fine. And most people would be intimidated by that. But I was having laughs with him, mucking around, having a good time. Because what's the worst thing? Like, as long as you're normal, he's going to be normal. He's self-made. Like, if you're intimidated, then it's bad.
Yeah, but let's just have a yarn with people. Like we get a lot of success. What we do isn't rocket science. Like we're not brain surgeons either. We are genuinely just having a good yarn with people, and that relationship just makes people comfortable to sell their houses with us. It makes buyers comfortable to part with their money, know that their agent's being very transparent with them because that's the best way to get a deal done, and it works.
No, absolutely. And look, like the proof's in the pudding. You guys have the runs on the board. You specialize at that end of the town. You're very good in that space. But you're right. I think the more authentic and genuine you are, that translates into your transactions.
Yeah.
So you guys see a lot of property at the end of the day, and I'm sure there have been some very interesting things that you have come across along the way. What is the bougie-ist, most lax, interesting, scariest thing you've seen in a property?
I reckon we can name a few, won't then mention the addresses.
No,
We've
no.
seen some pretty cool panic rooms. Seen a full walk-in gun safe, licensed guns,
Yeah.
but full walk-in, like hidden. You wouldn't be able to know it was there. That was pretty cool. Only, I think it's the only squash court, which is now a fully, enclosed indoor half basketball court with all the markings on it. That was pretty cool. What else?
What else have we seen? We've seen some really good bar setups. I'm talking garage, and then you can close the blinds there, and then you've got the full bar set up. It's the only room in the house that didn't have cameras either. So who knows what goes on there? No, what else have we seen? We've seen some really cool tunnels from garages into houses. Like I'm talking Batman style. Very, very cool. But there was a stage a couple of years ago where Alex and I hadn't seen an indoor pool for a very long time because they're not very common. We went into 4 houses in 1 week, all had indoor pools.
Nice. Another thing that's starting to become more prevalent in the prestige market and the trophy home, but even just in the press is like wellness centers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
ice baths, sauna,
Theme.
steams. So like they're cool as people are starting to really dive into that and embrace these indoor pools with gyms and wellness centers. So we see some pretty cool stuff.
So I really appreciate you guys joining me.
So much for having us.
Thanks, Courtney.